The Sleeping Rules. A monster rule horror bedtime story. Written in English as a long-form rules horror bedtime story. The 18 Sleeping Rules. Rule 1. Before 9 p.m., close your bedroom window. If the window calls your name, do not answer. If it calls in your mother's voice, close it faster. Rule 2. Before 10 p.m., turn off the lights and keep the room dark. They do not fear light. They enjoy it. Light shows them where your eyes are. Rule 3. Confirm that both the bedroom door and the window are locked. Do not trust a lock you did not hear click. Rule 4. Place one clean sheet of white paper and one pen on your desk. Before sleeping, write exactly one line, quietly sleep. The letters must be clear. Rule 5. You may play music from your phone. The volume must not exceed 10%. Loud music makes the walls curious. Rule 6. Keep the floor clean. They hide where a child has made little mountains for them. Rule 7. Do not read books or play games in the dark. If the words begin to twitch, or if a character turns its head the wrong way, close the book and shut the game off at once. Rule 8. Keep your phone connected to the charger. Make sure the voice assistant answers when you say, "Hey Siri." If you cannot call out, it must call for you. Rule 9. Keep both feet under the blanket. A blanket is not a wall, but it is a border, and borders matter to old things. Rule 10. If someone knocks from inside the wardrobe, do not open it. Say, "We are closed for sleep," and count your breaths to 12. Rule 11. Do not look under the bed after midnight. If you must check, use a mirror and never your bare face. Rule 12. If your pillow breathes, turn it over once. If it still breathes, put it gently on the floor and apologize. Rule 13. If footsteps outside your door sound like your mother, ask one question only: what did you call me before I was born? If it answers too quickly, do not unlock the door. Rule 14. If your reflection does not blink when you blink, say good night to it and turn the mirror face down. Rule 15. If the white paper asks for another sentence, refuse politely. One line is enough. More words make a path. Rule 16. If the moon appears to have teeth, close the curtains and do not count them. Rule 17. At 3:33 a.m., do not move, no matter what touches the mattress. There are inspections at that hour. Rule 18. In the morning, do not describe them before breakfast. Night things hide in the first story a child tells. The paper on the pillow. The first time Milo found the sleeping rules, he laughed. That was the detail his mother remembered later with the most bitterness. Not the scream at 3:33, not the splintered closet door, not the tiny wet footprints that crossed the ceiling above his bed and stopped directly over his face. She remembered the laugh. It had been small, bright, disrespectful, the laugh of an 8-year-old boy who believed every frightening thing in the world was only a shape made by adults to herd children toward obedience. The paper lay on his pillow at 8:41 p.m. It had been folded into a perfect square, edges matched so precisely that the corners looked sharp enough to cut skin. On the front, written in his mother's blue ink, were 5 words: "Read before you get tired." Milo was already tired, which made the instruction irritating. He had built a city out of plastic blocks on the floor, a city with red bridges, 2 crooked towers, and a long road made from train tracks that went nowhere. His pajamas were twisted at the collar. His hair was still damp from the bath. He wanted 10 more minutes with his game. He wanted to finish the level. He wanted the little hero on the screen to reach the castle before the battery died. "Mom," he called, "is this a joke?" His mother stood in the hallway holding a laundry basket. The hallway light drew her shadow long and thin across the carpet, and for a moment Milo thought her shadow had too many fingers. Then she shifted the basket to her hip, and the fingers became socks hanging through the holes. "It is not a joke," she said. "It says, rules." "Then read them." "Rules for sleeping?" "Yes. Sleeping is just closing your eyes." His mother looked at the window. It was open because the room was warm. Beyond the screen, the last light of evening had gone the color of a bruise. The maple tree outside kept tapping one branch against the glass with a patient, fingernail rhythm. Tap. 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 "Sleeping is not just closing your eyes," his mother said. "Sleeping is leaving your body in one place and trusting the dark not to take it apart while your mind is away." Milo stared at her. She blinked, as if she had surprised herself by speaking too honestly. Then she smiled the soft mother smile that usually meant she was about to say something ordinary. "I mean, good sleep needs good habits. Read the rules. Follow them exactly." "What happens if I don't?" The maple branch tapped again. Tap. Tap. His mother did not answer right away. She lowered the laundry basket. Her smile remained, but it seemed to hang from her face like a decoration someone had forgotten to remove after a party. "Then they will try to teach you," she said. "Who?" "The things that come for untidy, bright, noisy children who stay awake after bedtime." Milo laughed then. He shook the folded paper once, as if the laugh had weight and could fall off it. His mother did not laugh with him. "Close the window before 9, she said. "That one matters first." "You're trying to scare me." "Yes," she said, and her honesty made the room feel colder. "Because being scared early is better than being sorry late." She kissed the top of his head. Her lips were warm. When she stepped away, he smelled lavender soap and dryer sheets. He watched her go down the hallway. The floorboards creaked beneath her feet, one creak near the bathroom, two near the stairs, then silence. Milo opened the paper. There were 18 rules. He read only the first 8 because 8 rules seemed already ridiculous, and because the first one annoyed him most. Before 9 p.m., close your bedroom window. If the window calls your name, do not answer. If it calls in your mother's voice, close it faster. "Stupid," he whispered. The maple tree tapped the glass. Tap. 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 Then a voice from outside the window whispered, "Milo." It sounded exactly like his mother when she was trying not to wake the house. Milo stopped smiling. The room held its breath. The little hero on the game screen ran in place, waiting for Milo's thumb. The wet towel on the chair dripped once onto the carpet. The branch outside dragged itself slowly down the screen, not like wood bending in wind, but like fingers searching for the latch. "Milo," the voice whispered again. "Open up, sweetheart. I forgot to kiss you goodnight." He looked toward the hallway. His mother was downstairs. He could hear dishes in the sink. A cabinet closed. A faucet ran. Ordinary sounds, safe sounds, adult sounds. At the window, her voice said, "Hurry. It's almost 9. The gay music chirped from his phone, bright and brave and stupid. Milo reached toward the window, then stopped with his hand half raised. The paper on his lap crinkled. Rule 1. Before 9 p.m., close your bedroom window. Outside, the thing with his mother's voice exhaled against the screen. The mesh bulged inward, not tearing, only swelling as if a face too large for the square had pressed itself to the other side. Milo saw the shape of a mouth. It was smiling too wide. He jumped from the bed, crossed the room in 3 steps, and slammed the window down. Something outside sucked in a breath. The glass shook. For a moment, the smile remained printed in fog on the pane. Then the room went quiet except for the phone game asking him to continue. Milo looked at the folded sheet. He no longer wanted to laugh, but the laugh had already happened, and somehow he felt the dark had heard it. Before 9. At 8:57 p.m., the window began to bargain. It did not speak in a single voice anymore. That was worse. A single voice could be a trick. Many voices meant the dark had been listening long enough to collect people he loved. First it used his mother. "Milo, please. I am cold." Then his father, who lived in another city and called on Sundays. "Champ, open the window. Just a crack. I want to see how tall you've gotten." Then his teacher, bright and disappointed. "Milo, you forgot your homework. Hand it out to me." Then his own voice, smaller, younger, from a time he barely remembered. "Let me in. I am still scared of the dark." He stood in the center of his room with the paper clutched in both hands. The room was not big, yet it seemed to stretch in the last minutes before 9. The closed window sat across from him like a shut eye. In its black surface, the reflection of his bedroom floated, bed, desk, dresser, closet, toy city scattered across the floor. Behind all of it, darker than the reflected room, something leaned close from outside. He could not see it directly. He saw only the absence it made. The streetlight should have painted a yellow rectangle on the curtains, but the rectangle had a hole in it, a tall human-shaped hole with a head that bent sideways to avoid the top of the window. The head had antlers made of fingers. Or fingers made of antlers. They moved separately, tasting the glass. "You closed it wrong," said his father's voice. Milo swallowed. The latch was down. He had heard it click. But now that the voice had said wrong, doubt moved through him like cold water. He stepped closer. "Don't," whispered his own younger voice. "If you come near, it can see your eyelashes." That sentence was so strange that he believed it. The paper shook in his hands. Beneath Rule 1, there was a smaller note he had missed: if the latch rises by itself, do not push it down with your fingers. Use a book, a shoe, or the back of a hairbrush. Skin is an invitation. The latch trembled. Milo's whole body tightened. The metal lever lifted the width of a fingernail, then stopped, then lifted again. From outside came a patient scraping sound, as if someone were drawing a fork along bone. He grabbed the nearest hardcover book from his desk, a space encyclopedia with a picture of Saturn on the cover. Keeping his face turned away, he pressed the book against the latch and pushed down. The latch clicked. The window screamed. Not loudly. That was the terrible thing. It screamed quietly, a thin sound pressed through the edges of the frame, the scream of a thing that did not want adults to hear. Milo's knees went soft. He backed away until the backs of his legs touched the bed. At exactly 9 p.m., the screaming stopped. The phone game on the blanket made a triumphant sound. Level complete. The castle gates opened. Tiny fireworks flashed on the screen. Milo looked down and saw, reflected in the black glass, that the little game character had stopped celebrating. It was turned away from the castle. It was facing him. "No," Milo whispered. The paper crinkled again as if it agreed. Rule 7 waited lower on the page, patient as a spider. Do not read books or play games in the dark. If the words begin to twitch, or if a character turns its head the wrong way, close the book and shut the game off at once. It was not dark yet. Not fully. But dusk had thickened around the corners. Under the bed, shadows gathered like spilled ink learning to crawl back into the bottle. The game character raised one pixel hand and waved. The movement was too slow for the cheerful game. Too deliberate. It placed both hands against the inside of the screen as if against glass. Milo could see its round, painted eyes. They were no longer painted. They were wet. He pressed the power button. The screen went black. For half a second, in that black mirror, he saw the window behind him again. The thing outside had lowered its head. One of its finger antlers wrote on the fogged glass with a nail. "Good boy." Then the fog vanished. Downstairs, his mother called, "How are you doing?" Milo opened his mouth to shout. The rules rustled before he spoke. Rule 18, at the bottom of the page, seemed darker than the others. In the morning, do not describe them before breakfast. Night things hide in the first story a child tells. It was not morning, but somehow he understood the warning went both ways. Telling might make it bigger. Naming might give it a place in the house. "Fine," he called, though his voice cracked. Window closed. He looked at the black pane. No fog. No smile. No antlers. Only his own room staring back. Yes. Good. Read the next rule. Milo looked at Rule 2. Before 10 p.m., turn off the lights and keep the room dark. They do not fear light. They enjoy it. Light shows them where your eyes are. He had always hated sleeping in the dark. For the first time in his life, he wondered whether the dark hated sleeping with him too. The things that enjoy light. At 9:16 p.m., Milo turned on every light in the room. He did it in defiance first. Ceiling light, desk lamp, little moon-shaped nightlight, the flashlight feature on his phone propped against a stack of books. His bedroom became hard and bright. The shadows fled into cracks beneath furniture, thin as frightened insects. For one glorious minute, the rules looked ridiculous again. They like light, Milo said aloud. That makes no sense. Monsters are afraid of light. Everyone knows that. The ceiling light flickered once. Then the bulb blinked. It did not flicker like bad electricity. It closed and opened like an eye. Milo froze with his hand still on the nightlight switch. The glass dome of the ceiling bulb bulged downward, almost imperceptibly, stretching from the socket like the swollen belly of a pale spider. Inside the bulb, the filament curled. It had always been a thin wire. Now it resembled a smile. The desk lamp angled itself toward him. Milo backed away. Light filled the room, but it no longer felt like safety. It felt like attention. It slid over his skin and stopped at his eyes. The beams from the lamp and phone and nightlight crossed his face. They were warm at first, then hot. He blinked, and in the moment his eyelids closed, he heard tiny feet scatter across the ceiling. He opened his eyes. There were shapes in the light. They were not shadows. Shadows belong to things. These were the opposite, pale, thin bodies made of brightness, crouching inside the illuminated places. One clung to the cone of the desk lamp, long transparent fingers wrapped around the metal shade. Another hung upside down inside the ceiling glow, its body flat as a moth and its face full of pinprick holes. 3 smaller ones gathered around a flashlight beam from his phone, feeding on it with open mouths. Milo could see through them and still see them. That was what made his stomach turn. Their bones were made of overexposed photographs. Their veins were bright white threads. When they moved, the room became sharper, every edge too clear, every dust mote a glowing planet. The one inside the ceiling light whispered, "Eyes." The others repeated it. Eyes. 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 Milo squeezed his eyes shut. Rule 2 said to turn off the lights before 10. It was only 9:18. Did before 10 mean any time before 10, or exactly before 10? His mind, which had been excellent at arguing with bedtime, now argued badly with terror. Something warm touched his eyelid. He screamed and slapped at his face. His palm struck nothing but light. When he opened his eyes, spots swam in his vision. The bright creatures trembled with delight. He looked, said one. He opened, said another. Show us the wet part, whispered the ceiling thing. Milo ran to the wall switch and hit it. The ceiling light went out. A high, disappointed hiss came from above. The room dimmed, but not enough. The desk lamp remained. The moon nightlight smiled gently from the outlet. The phone flashlight blazed like a little doorway. He knocked the desk lamp over. Its bulb shattered, and in the instant before darkness swallowed it, a narrow bright hand reached from the broken glass and clawed the air inches from his wrist. He kicked the nightlight from the wall. It popped, and something inside squealed. He fumbled for the phone, blinded by the flashlight, and in his panic his thumb slid across the music controls instead. A song began. It was one of the quiet rain tracks his mother let him play sometimes. Except the volume was high from earlier, turned up during his game. Rain filled the room at 50%, then 60%, because his thumb jammed the side button as he grabbed it. The walls answered. At first it sounded like knocking in the pipes. Then the knocking formed a rhythm. From the left wall, tap tap. From the right, tap tap tap. From the ceiling, scratch, 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 in time with the rain. The wallpaper near the closet puckered outward as if someone behind it had pressed lips to the plaster. Rule 5. You may play music from your phone. The volume must not exceed 10%. Loud music makes the walls curious. Milo stabbed the volume button down. The rain softened. With every click, the wallpaper flattened a little. 50. 40. 30. 20. At 15, the scratching slowed. At 10, the room exhaled. At 9, something behind the wall whispered, "Rude." Milo held the phone with both hands. The flashlight was off now. The room had become a blue-gray cave lit only by the hallway line under the door. He could not see the bright creatures anymore, but he sensed them retreating into dead bulbs and glossy screens, licking the afterimage of his eyes from their fingers. His phone showed 9:23. He placed it carefully on the desk, connected the charger with shaking hands, and whispered, "Hey Siri." The phone chimed. "I'm here," the assistant answered. Milo almost cried with relief. Then, from the closet, in the same calm digital voice, something else said, "So am I." He turned toward the closet. The door was open an inch. He had not left it open. A strip of black showed between the door and the frame. Within that strip, something breathed softly, as if trying not to fog the darkness. Milo looked at Rule 3. Confirm that both the bedroom door and the window are locked. Do not trust a lock you did not hear click. The closet was not mentioned. That seemed unfair. The dark between the closet door and frame widened another inch, and a long fingernail, white as a peeled almond, curled around the edge from inside. A lock you did not hear. The fingernail did not scratch. It tapped politely. 3 taps. Milo had never thought of politeness as frightening. Monsters in cartoons burst through doors. They roared. They drooled. They left slime. This thing waited. It gave him time to imagine the rest of the hand, the rest of the arm, the shoulder folding itself in the closet darkness like a bird too large for its cage. Tap. 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 He read faster. Rule 10, if someone knocks from inside the wardrobe, do not open it. Say, "We are closed for sleep," and count your breaths to 12. The closet tapped again, but this time the taps came from lower down. Knuckles against wood. Then higher. Then lower again. More than one hand. "We are closed for sleep," Milo said. His voice came out thin. The closet door stopped moving. He inhaled. 1. The door creaked. 2. Something inside sniffed. 3. The voice from the closet was not his mother's or father's now. It was wet and friendly, like a dog that had learned words by eating people who spoke them. Closed things can be opened. 4. Sleeping things can be woken. 5. Little things can be held. 6. The fingernail withdrew. For a hopeful instant Milo thought the rule had worked. Then the closet door opened another inch, and he saw an eye. It was too low for an adult, too high for a crawling animal. It had no eyelid. It shone with the dull black brightness of a button on an old coat. 7. Your room is messy, the thing said. We have so many places. Milo glanced at the floor. His plastic city sprawled in ruins. A sock lay half under the bed like a shed skin. The towel on the chair had slid down. Books tilted from a pile. Game cartridges, blocks, toy animals, shirts, and colored pencils made the carpet into a landscape of hiding places. Rule 6. Keep the floor clean. They hide where a child has made little mountains for them. 8. A small gray hand rose from between two plastic blocks. It was not the closet thing's hand. It was much smaller, with fingers like bent paper clips. It felt blindly over the train tracks, found a toy car, and pulled itself up. Another hand emerged from the sleeve of Milo's blue hoodie. Something rustled inside the hood. 9. He wanted to run to the door, but the path was cluttered. That was the point, he realized. A messy floor was not merely messy. It was terrain. It gave the things trenches, hills, tunnels, ambush points. It made his room less his. 10. The closet. I blinked sideways. 11. The sock near the bed filled slowly from within, toes swelling as something wormed itself into the fabric. 12. The closet door slammed shut. Every little hand on the floor vanished. The sock deflated. The hoodie collapsed. The toy city became only plastic again, though several towers had fallen in the wrong direction, as if struck from underneath. Milo stood panting. Downstairs, the house remained ordinary. His mother hummed once in the kitchen. Water moved through pipes. A car passed outside. Somewhere a neighbor laughed. The normal world was so close that Milo felt betrayed by it. How could kitchens and cars and neighbors exist at the same time as a closet with a button eye? The bedroom door was still unlocked. He crossed the cluttered floor carefully. Every object looked guilty. His foot brushed a shirt and something beneath it clicked teeth. He leaped back, then saw it was only two building blocks snapping together under pressure. Maybe. At the door, he turned the lock until it clicked. The sound was small, but it changed the room. The hallway line under the door became less like an invitation and more like a border. He heard something on the other side pause. Click, said the lock. The thing in the hall said, "Oh." Milo backed away. The window latch was down. The bedroom door was locked. The closet, though not named in Rule 3, was closed, and he did not intend to touch it. Now the floor. Cleaning a room at night felt different when he knew the mess had tenants. He lifted each shirt by 2 fingers and shook it once. Dust fell. Once, something else fell with the dust, a black bead with tiny legs that skittered under the dresser. He put the shirt in the laundry basket and did not follow it. He stacked books on the shelf, but one book opened by itself to a page of pictures. The printed words beneath the picture trembled. Do not read books or play games in the dark. He slammed it shut. Inside the closed book, something continued turning pages for 3 seconds. He gathered blocks and train tracks into bins. While he worked, the shadows under furniture withdrew, losing their elaborate shapes. The carpet reappeared. The city became pieces. The little mountains flattened. At 9:46, the floor was nearly clean. Milo looked around, sweating. His room had become simple again: bed, desk, dresser, closet, window. The rules lay on the bed. The white paper and pen waited on the desk, not yet prepared by him but present, as if they had always known he would need them. He picked up the pen. The pen was cold. The white paper looked impossibly clean. It was not the kind from his school notebooks. It had no lines, no holes, no brand at the corner. It looked less like paper and more like a small piece cut from the belly of the moon. Rule 4. Place one clean sheet of white paper and one pen on your desk. Before sleeping, write exactly one line, quietly sleep. The letters must be clear. Milo leaned over the desk. His hand shook so badly that the first Q came out like a worm. The pen stopped moving. From beneath the paper, a mouth opened. Quietly sleep. It was not a large mouth. That made it worse. Large mouths belong to wolves and sharks and things a child could understand from picture books. This mouth was the size of a paper cut. It opened in the white sheet just below Milo's crooked Q, splitting the surface without tearing it. The lips were thin and colorless. Inside, he saw no tongue, only a dark crease from which a whisper slid. Clearer. Milo dropped the pen. The mouth closed. The white paper became smooth again except for the ugly beginning of the word quietly, the Q bent, the U trembling, the I dotted too hard. For a moment he thought he had imagined it. Then the dot over the I moved. It crawled down the letter like a black mite and settled at the bottom of the page. No, Milo whispered. The paper opened its mouth again. Clear letters make clear borders, it said. Messy letters leave cracks. Milo almost ran to his mother's room. But the bedroom door was locked, and the hall beyond it had already said "Oh" in a voice that knew what locks meant. He picked up the pen because the rules did not offer another option. "Can I use a new sheet?" he asked. The paper seemed to consider. The tiny mouth smiled. Waste invites the thin ones. Continue. He placed the pen tip after the crooked start and forced himself to breathe. Quietly sleep. 2 words. 14 letters if he counted correctly. He had written harder sentences in school. He had copied spelling lists and birthday cards and apology notes. But never had a sentence felt like a bridge he must build while something watched from below. He wrote slowly. Quietly. The letters straightened as he made them. Not by magic exactly. More as if the paper wanted him to succeed and hated him for needing help. When he finished the Y, the word gave off a faint smell like cold milk. Sleep. The S tried to curl too much. He corrected it. The L stood tall. The first E opened like an I, then became a letter again. The final P dragged slightly, but it remained legible. Quietly sleep. As soon as he lifted the pen, the room changed. The sentence darkened, soaking into the paper until it looked written not on the surface but far beneath it. The walls stopped listening. The closet became only a closet. The window reflected less black. Even the space under the bed seemed to lower itself, disappointed. The paper's mouth opened one last time. Good, it said. Now place me where I can see the door. The rule didn't say that. The mouth vanished. Milo waited. Nothing replied. He turned the paper so the written line faced outward from the desk toward the door. It felt silly until he saw the doorknob twitch and then become still, as if it had noticed the sentence. Quietly sleep. The words were not a wish. They were a notice. A sign hung on the border between his bed and the rest of the night. A sign that said the child here had declared his intention, and any old thing that respected old rules must at least pretend to believe him. At 9:58, Milo turned off the last remaining light, the small display glow on his game console. The room settled into darkness. He hated it. Darkness was not empty. The darkness in his bedroom had grain, texture, pressure. It pressed softly against his cheeks. It filled his ears. It made the bed feel too high above the floor and too low beneath the ceiling. The furniture disappeared but did not leave. It became suggestion. The dresser might be a dresser, or a hunched back. The chair might be a chair, or a thing sitting backward with its head missing. The closet might be closed, or might be holding its door in place with both hands. The phone played rain at 9%. It was plugged into the charger. A little battery symbol glowed on the screen, mercifully dim. Milo tested the assistant again in a whisper. "Hey Siri." The phone chimed softly. "I'm here." The voice was ordinary. Calm. Machine clean. He almost loved it. "Set an alarm for 7, he whispered. "Your alarm is set for 7 a.m. Good. It worked. Rule 8 was satisfied. He climbed into bed and pulled the blanket up to his chin. Rule 9 warned about feet. He tucked them under. The mattress dipped beneath him. The pillow smelled of detergent and his own hair. For 5 minutes, nothing happened. Then the bed whispered, "Are you asleep?" Milo did not answer. "We can only check if you are asleep," the bed whispered. "Say yes if you are asleep." That was ridiculous. Even in terror, he knew it was ridiculous. He kept his eyes closed. The mattress dipped again, this time near his feet. Something placed a weight there, not heavy enough to be a person, not light enough to be imagination. It crawled upward by increments, pausing whenever his breathing changed. Milo thought of Rule 17. At 3:33 a.m., do not move, no matter what touches the mattress. There are inspections at that hour. It was not 3:33. It was barely after 10. Did that mean he could move? Or did moving teach the thing that movement was possible? The weight reached his knees. It smelled like rainwater trapped in a glove. "Your sentence is clear," whispered the bed thing. "But your body is awake. We see the difference." His phone, plugged in on the desk, chimed once. "I did not understand that," Siri said. The thing on the bed went still. Milo's heart hammered. The assistant had heard something. Or something had wanted it to hear. The rain track continued under 10%, soft as breath. The white paper faced the door. The locks had clicked. The floor was clean. The lights were off. He had followed the rules. So why was something on the blanket? A cold finger traced the outline of his left foot through the fabric. Milo remembered Rule 9. A blanket is not a wall, but it is a border, and borders matter to old things. The finger stopped at the edge of the tucked blanket. It pressed, testing for an opening. Finding none, it withdrew. "Good boy," whispered the bed. Milo lay perfectly still, tears sliding silently into his ears, and realized good boy no longer meant safe. It meant noticed. The game that looked back. The next night, Milo planned to follow every rule perfectly. Planning was easier in daylight. Daylight made last night look like a fever. His mother had served oatmeal and bananas for breakfast. He had not described the things before eating, because Rule 18 told him not to, and because when he opened his mouth at the table, his mother placed one finger against her lips without looking up from her coffee. "After breakfast," she said. So he ate. Every spoonful felt like a password. Only when the bowl was empty did she ask, "Did you see them?" Milo nodded. "Which ones?" "Window. Light. Closet. Paper. Bed. Maybe wall." His mother closed her eyes for a moment as if counting. "That is a lot for a first night. Why didn't you tell me before?" "I did tell you. I gave you the rules. Before. She looked toward the kitchen window, where morning sunlight warmed a pot of basil. Children do not believe in rules until the first rule believes in them. That answer made no sense and too much sense at the same time. All day at school, Milo felt the rules folded in his pocket like a second set of bones. He wanted to ask other children whether their windows called them. He wanted to ask his teacher why spelling mattered if messy letters left cracks. He wanted to ask whether anyone else knew that light could be hungry. But whenever he almost spoke, he imagined little night things hiding in the first story a child tells. So he said nothing. Silence became a room he carried inside him. By evening, he was determined. At 8:30, he cleaned the floor. At 8:45, he placed the white paper and pen on the desk. At 8:50, he checked the phone charger. At 8:55, he closed the window and latched it with the back of a hairbrush, though nothing called yet. At 9:30, he wrote quietly sleep in careful letters. At 9:45, he turned the music to 9%. At 9:59, he switched off the lights. He should have been safe. But he forgot the game. It sat beneath the blanket where he had hidden it from his mother after dinner. He had planned to play only until 9:15, then stop. But the window had not called and the room had seemed almost normal, and the tiny glowing screen had promised color, movement, control. Games were wonderful because they obeyed. Press right, the hero ran right. Press jump, the hero jumped. Monsters in games waited where designers placed them. They could be defeated if you learned the pattern. At 10:11, under the blanket, Milo pressed start. The brightness beneath the blanket made a small glowing cave. He kept the volume muted, because Rule 5 frightened him now, and told himself muted meant hidden. The hero appeared in the forest level. Trees swayed. Coins sparkled. The castle waited at the end. For 3 minutes, everything was fine. Then the hero stopped obeying. Milo pressed right. The hero stood still. He pressed jump. The hero lowered his head. A text box opened across the bottom of the screen. This game did not have text boxes. It is dark where you are. Milo's thumb hovered. Another line appeared. Thank you for making a little light. He remembered Rule 7, but he did not close the game. That was the problem with children and warnings. Sometimes the first wrong thing becomes so fascinating that the mind forgets there can be a second wrong thing, and a third, and a consequence already climbing the side of the bed. The hero turned toward the screen. Not toward the viewer in the cute way characters sometimes do. He turned slowly, dragging his little pixel feet through the grass, until his face stared outward. The round eyes enlarged. The mouth opened. Behind him, the forest trees bent forward too. Every enemy on the screen stopped moving and faced Milo. A new text box appeared. We can see the underside of your blanket. Something brushed the blanket from outside. Milo nearly dropped the device. He pressed the power button. Nothing happened. The screen showed his game character raising one finger to his lips. Then the character looked upward. From above the blanket came a soft sniff. Milo lay frozen inside his glowing cave. The handheld device grew warm in his palms. Its light illuminated the woven threads of the blanket inches from his face. At first the threads were normal. Then they began to separate. Tiny dark points appeared between them, holes. Through each hole, an eye looked in. There were dozens. The eyes belonged to something spread across the outside of the blanket like a child lying stomach down on ice to watch fish beneath. Its breath pressed the fabric toward Milo's nose. Playing, whispered the thing. The voice was gentle. That frightened him more than hunger would have. The game character on the screen smiled. A tiny pixel hand reached toward the edge of the display from inside. The glass bulged outward. Milo remembered the rule completely then. If the words begin to twitch, or if a character turns its head the wrong way, close the book and shut the game off at once. At once had passed. But perhaps late was better than never. He held the power button for 5 seconds. The screen did not go black. The hero's pixel hand pushed farther out, flattening against the inside of the glass like a bug under tape. 6 seconds. The eyes in the blanket blinked together. 7. The device vibrated. A menu appeared, power off. His thumb slid toward yes. The game character shook its head. The thing on the blanket whispered, "Don't be rude. We came all this way." Milo pressed yes. Darkness swallowed the cave. The weight on top of the blanket lifted at once, not gone but offended. It crawled down the bed, making the fabric tug over Milo's knees, his shins, his feet. At the footboard, it paused. A thin finger found the edge of the blanket and tried to lift it. But Milo had tucked both feet underneath. The finger probed. The border held. Something sighed through many little mouths. "Good habit," it said, and slipped off the bed. On the floor, where Milo had cleaned carefully, there was nowhere for it to hide. It moved across the carpet making a sound like wet leaves on tile. He heard it reach the closet. The closet door, still closed, opened from the inside just wide enough to admit a body with too many elbows. Before it disappeared, the thing whispered back toward the bed. "Tomorrow, forget something else. Children always do." The closet clicked shut. Under the blanket, Milo held the dead game device against his chest until its plastic cooled. He did not play in the dark again. The clean floor. By the fourth night, Milo understood that the rules were not commandments. They were bargains. A commandment says do this because I said so. A bargain says do this and I will hold back what waits on the other side. The rules were full of borders, window latch, door lock, blanket edge, written sentence, darkness, quiet music, clean carpet. Every good habit made a line. Every bad habit smudged one. That was why the floor mattered. On Thursday afternoon, Milo's friend Theo came over after school. Theo was 9, loud, freckled, and fearless in the way children are fearless when they are standing in someone else's haunted room at 4 p.m. He dumped blocks onto the carpet, scattered action figures, unfolded a blanket into a cape, and built a spaceship from pillows. "Your mom is strict," Theo said when Milo began picking things up at 7:30. "It's not my mom." "Who then?" Milo hesitated. Sunlight still sat in the room, yellow and harmless. The closet door was open, showing ordinary shirts. The window looked out at the maple tree, which was only a tree in the afternoon. The paper rules lay hidden in his desk drawer, because showing them to Theo felt like showing a bruise. "Nothing," Milo said. Theo grinned. "You scared of bedtime?" "No." "Then leave it. We can build a monster city." The word monster made the closet creak, though no wind moved. Milo started cleaning faster. Theo laughed and kicked a pile of blocks under the bed. "There. Hidden. Clean enough." Milo went cold. "Don't do that." "What?" Theo kicked another small pile under. "It's faster." Milo dropped to his knees and reached under the bed. His fingers closed around blocks, dust, and something else, a small braid of hair. He jerked his hand back. The braid lay across his palm, black and damp. It was not his hair. It was tied at one end with a red thread. For a moment it curled like a living caterpillar. Then it became a piece of lint. Theo did not see. He had grabbed the game device. "Let's play one round." "Not in here." "It's still light." "Not in here." Theo rolled his eyes, but something in Milo's face convinced him. He left at 8:05, calling Milo weird in a cheerful voice from the stairs. His mother thanked Theo's mother at the door. The house quieted. Milo looked at the mess. It was worse than it looked because of the hiding. Obvious mess could be cleaned. Hidden mess made promises to the floor. He pulled everything from under the bed. Blocks. Socks. A pencil. 2 marbles. A candy wrapper he did not recognize. The lint braid was gone. Then he found the toy rabbit. It had been his when he was smaller, gray plush with one bent ear and a stitched nose. He had not seen it in months. It lay under the bed against the wall, face down. He reached for it. The rabbit crawled backward. Milo froze. It did not move like a rabbit. It moved like a hand inside a rabbit, fingers walking under the plush skin. The bent ear twitched. The stitched nose dragged along the carpet and left a dark line. "No hiding," Milo whispered. The rabbit stopped. "Floor clean," he said, louder. The rabbit flipped over. Its button eyes were gone. In their place were two small holes, and deep in each hole something wet reflected him. "We like the mountains," said a voice from inside the toy. "Piles are warm. Corners are kind. Sleeves are tunnels. Blankets are weather. Children build us countries and call them messes." Milo reached for the broom beside his desk. His mother had placed it there after breakfast without comment. Now he understood why. The toy rabbit opened its stitched mouth. It should not have been able to open. The thread stretched, broke, and revealed teeth made from bits of broken pencil lead. "Don't sweep us," it said. Milo swept. The broom struck the rabbit and sent it tumbling into the open. It squealed with a sound like a zipper being torn too fast. Other things answered from the room, under the dresser, behind the laundry basket, inside a sneaker. The carpet shivered. All the places he had not yet cleaned betrayed themselves at once. A sock near the door stood upright and hopped once. A shirt sleeve reached for his ankle. The pillow spaceship Theo had built collapsed inward, and from between the pillows rose a thin head wrapped in dust. Its face was flat except for a mouth shaped like a staple. "Mess child," it whispered. Milo did not scream. Screaming wasted time, and he had learned that time before 10 was a narrowing hallway. He swept everything into the center of the floor: blocks, shirts, toys, papers, dust, little gray hands that withdrew too slowly. He kicked the laundry into the basket. He threw blocks into bins without sorting colors. He shoved books onto shelves and slammed drawers. Each cleared patch of carpet became less available to them. The room brightened without light. The dust head tried to crawl under the dresser. Milo thrust the broom beneath and swept it out. It came apart into hair, lint, and two beetles that raced toward the wall. "No," he said. He swept them into the dustpan. At 8:59, the floor was clean. The room became still. In the center of the dustpan, among crumbs and threads, the toy rabbit lay small and ordinary. Its button eyes were back. Its stitched mouth was shut. One ear bent sadly over its face. Milo carried it to the trash. His mother watched from the kitchen doorway. "That was your favorite," she said. "It was hiding something." She nodded as if this were a normal reason to throw away a childhood toy. That night, after he wrote quietly sleep, the paper added a second line by itself. "Thank you for removing the country." Milo stared at it. Rule 15, if the white paper asks for another sentence, refuse politely. One line is enough. More words make a path. He picked up the pen with a shaking hand. "No, thank you," he almost wrote. But that would be more words. So he folded the paper once, hiding the second line, and whispered, "One line is enough." The paper twitched under his fingers. From somewhere very far away, something that had been using his messy floor as a kingdom began to cry. The voice assistant. Milo began to trust the phone. This was dangerous, but understandable. The phone was the only thing in the room that answered like the world had not changed. The window used familiar voices. The closet lied in a wet throat. The paper spoke from a mouth too small to belong anywhere. But the assistant chimed gently. It knew alarms, weather, reminders, songs. It belonged to the daylight species of objects, the kind people bought in stores and dropped on carpets and complained about when batteries drained. So when Rule 8 said to keep it charged and make sure Hey Siri worked, Milo obeyed with devotion. Every night, charger in, volume at 9%, rain track ready, voice assistant tested. Hey Siri, he whispered. I'm here. He loved those words. On Sunday night, the phone did not answer. It was plugged in. The cable glowed faintly at the base. The battery showed 87%. The microphone worked earlier. He had checked everything at 9:20. Yet at 9:51, when the room had already darkened and the window had begun making tiny kissing sounds against the glass, he whispered, Hey Siri, and nothing happened. He tried again. No chime. The phone screen remained black. On the desk, the white paper waited for the sentence. The pen lay beside it, perfectly parallel to the edge, though Milo had not placed it so neatly. The door was locked. The window was locked. The floor was clean. The lights were low, not yet off. Hey Siri, he said a third time. From under the bed, the assistant's voice answered, I'm down here. Milo's mouth went dry. Rule 11, do not look under the bed after midnight. If you must check, use a mirror and never your bare face. It was not midnight. It was 9:52. But the rule had introduced an idea. Looking under the bed with your bare face was a mistake so old it had earned its own warning. I'm here, the voice said again from below. Your phone fell. The phone sat on the desk. Milo could see it. Pick me up, said the voice under the bed. Milo backed toward the desk. He grabbed the real phone and held down the side button. The screen lit. The assistant icon glowed. Hey Siri, he whispered. This time the real phone chimed. I'm here. The thing under the bed hissed. The sound began in one place and ended in several, spreading beneath the mattress. The bed frame trembled. Milo stood with the phone clutched in both hands, and for the first time, the device felt not like a toy but like a candle carried through a cave. Call Mom, he whispered. The phone displayed calling Mom. Downstairs, his mother's phone rang once. Under the bed, something rang too. A muffled vibration buzzed beneath the mattress, exactly in time with the call. Milo stared. The real phone showed his mother's contact photo, smiling face, sun hat, beach behind her. The ringing from below grew louder, vibrating through the floorboards. His mother's voice answered from the phone in his hand. Milo. His mother's voice answered from under the bed. Milo. The two voices overlapped perfectly. Milo almost dropped the phone. Mom. Are you all right? Said both voices. He could not tell which was real. The phone speaker and the darkness beneath the bed had become twins. Then his mother on the phone said, Ask me the question. Milo's eyes snapped to Rule 13. If footsteps outside your door sound like your mother, ask one question only. What did you call me before I was born? If it answers too quickly, do not unlock the door. This was not footsteps. It was a voice. But old rules overlap when old things improvise. Milo whispered, What did you call me before I was born? The voice under the bed answered instantly, My little star. The phone went silent for half a second. Then his mother whispered through the speaker, almost. But no. The thing under the bed began to laugh. Not because it had fooled him. Because it had almost fooled him. The laughter was delighted with the shape of almost. His real mother said, "Stay on the bed. Keep your feet tucked. Write the line if you have not written it. Do not look down. I am coming upstairs, but I will stop outside your door. I will not ask you to open it. Do you understand?" "Yes." "Say the sentence." He looked at the blank paper. His hand shook. "Quietly sleep," he said. "No. Write it. Clearly." "I can't." "You can." Under the bed, the false mother whispered, "He can't. His hand is too small. His letters are cracks." His real mother said, "Do not listen." Milo crossed to the desk without letting his feet come near the bed. He wrote the sentence. The letters were ugly but clear. "Quietly sleep." The phone call crackled. Footsteps came up the stairs. His mother's real footsteps. One creak near the bathroom, two near the landing. They stopped outside his locked door. "I am here," she said through the wood and through the phone at once. "Can I open it?" "No. Not tonight." The thing under the bed stopped laughing. His mother outside the door began to sing. It was not a lullaby Milo knew. It was older and simpler, only 3 notes, repeated softly. The phone in his hand carried the same song with a slight delay. The room seemed to fold between the 2 versions. Under the bed, the false mother's breathing became ragged. "You used to sing to us," it said. His mother did not pause. "Before children had clocks," the thing said. "Before doors. Before names. You sang us into corners and called it bedtime." She kept singing. Milo climbed into bed, phone still in hand, feet under the blanket, eyes fixed on the door. The real voice and the phone voice wrapped around the room. The thing under the bed shrank from sound that was not loud but certain. At last, something small and heavy dropped from the underside of the mattress to the floor. It rolled once. Milo did not look. His mother finished the song. "Sleep," she whispered. "What did you call me before I was born?" Milo asked again, because he needed the real answer more than he needed air. Outside the door, his mother took a long breath. "Not my little star," she said. "I called you please." Milo closed his eyes. Behind him, under the bed, the thing whispered the word please once, as if tasting a name it had failed to steal. Inspections. At 3:33 a.m., the room became a mouth. Milo did not wake all at once. He surfaced from a dream of clean floors and closed windows, and the first thing he knew was that the rain music had stopped. The second thing he knew was that every object in the room was waiting. The dark had changed texture. Before, it had been soft, layered, full of ordinary furniture. Now it was stretched tight like skin over teeth. He opened one eye. The phone screen on the desk showed 3:33. Rule 17 arrived in his mind complete and cold. At 3:33 a.m., do not move, no matter what touches the mattress. There are inspections at that hour. Something touched the mattress. It began at the foot of the bed, a pressure like two fingertips pressing through the blanket. Then another pair. Then another. Not climbing exactly. Inspecting. The touches moved in rows, left to right to left, methodical as a teacher checking desks during a test. Milo did not move. His nose itched. That was the cruelty of bodies, they betray you with small needs during large terrors. His nose itched, his throat wanted to swallow, his left toe wanted to twitch, his lungs wanted to breathe faster. He held himself in place with everything he had. The touches reached his feet. They paused. Both feet were under the blanket. Tucked. Border intact. A dry voice above him said, "Feet contained." Milo's heart punched once. Above him. He had expected the inspectors from below. He had been wrong. The voice came from the ceiling. Slowly, without moving his head, he moved only his eyes upward. On the ceiling directly over his bed were three figures flattened against the plaster. They were not hanging. Hanging implies gravity has an opinion. These things clung to the ceiling as if the ceiling were their floor. They were thin, taller than adults, folded into themselves so their knees pointed outward like broken umbrellas. Their skin was the color of old bandages. Their heads hung down on long necks, upside down, faces inches below the ceiling. Each face had a different mouth, one sewn shut with hair, one open in a perfect circle, one filled with tiny square teeth like piano keys. They held clipboards. That detail nearly made Milo laugh, and the laugh nearly killed him. He clamped his teeth together until his jaw hurt. The inspector with the sewn mouth pointed a long finger toward the desk. The circular mouth one whispered, "Written declaration present. Legibility acceptable." The piano mouth one clicked its teeth. Music absent. Volume cannot be evaluated. The phone, as if insulted, lit up. Battery, 23%. The charger had slipped loose. Milo's stomach sank. Rule 8. Keep your phone connected to the charger. Make sure the voice assistant answers when you say, "Hey Siri." If you cannot call out, it must call for you. The inspectors noticed. All three heads rotated toward the phone. "Connection compromised," whispered the circular mouth. Milo could see the charger cable lying beside the phone, metal tip just out of place. He knew how it had happened. He must have tugged it during sleep. Or something had brushed it. Or the phone had wriggled away from power in the dark like a frightened animal. The sewn mouth inspector lowered itself from the ceiling by lengthening its neck. Its face descended until it hovered over Milo's chest. Though its mouth was stitched, he heard its voice inside his teeth. "Do not move." It was reminding him. Or threatening him. Or both. The piano mouth inspector moved toward the desk, crawling upside down along the ceiling. Its shadow traveled across the wall in jerks. One hand reached down. The arm stretched impossibly long, joint after joint unfolding, until its fingers hovered above the phone charger. "Assistance unavailable," it clicked. Milo wanted to shout, "Hey Siri." But shouting was movement. Speech moved the mouth. Did Rule 17 forbid speaking? It said do not move, no matter what touches the mattress. His lips were part of him. His voice might be considered motion by things that filed reports on sleeping children. The hand touched the charger cable. The phone screen changed. Instead of the lock screen, it showed a black display with white text. Say it without moving. Milo stared. The circular mouth inspector turned toward him. A cold pressure spread over his chest. The mattress beneath him softened, then dipped. Something under the bed pressed upward at exactly the same time the inspector above leaned down. He was caught between inspections. Say it without moving. How? His mind raced through games, tricks, wishes, prayers. The phone assistant listened for a phrase. It needed sound. But sound required breath, tongue, lips. Unless the phone had learned fear. Milo did the only thing he could. He thought the words as loudly as possible. Hey Siri. Nothing. The inspector's sewn mouth brushed his forehead. The stitches smelled of dust and apple peels. Hey Siri, Milo thought again. Please. The phone chimed. Very softly. The three inspectors froze. I'm here, the assistant whispered. The piano-mouth inspector's teeth clattered in outrage. The hand holding the charger jerked. The cable fell, and by pure luck or some mercy in the machinery, the metal tip slid into the port. The battery icon changed. Charging. The inspectors withdrew as one. Connection restored, said the circular mouth. Child compliant, said the sewn mouth inside Milo's teeth. Fear excessive but useful, clicked the piano mouth. They crawled backward up the ceiling, folding their limbs into shapes that hurt to see. At the center of the ceiling, directly above the bed, there was a dark stain Milo had never noticed. The inspectors slipped into it one by one, as if the plaster were water. The phone screen went black. Milo remained motionless until the numbers changed to 334. Only then did he breathe. Something under the bed sighed, disappointed. Past, it whispered. From the ceiling stain, a final drop fell. It landed on the blanket near Milo's knee. In the morning he would find it was not water, but ink. It had formed a word in tiny letters on the fabric. Observed. What the mother knew. Milo's mother knew more than she admitted. He understood this gradually, the way a child understands that adults have whole lives hidden behind their faces. She knew which rules mattered most on windy nights. She knew to buy white paper without lines. She knew to keep spare phone chargers in every drawer. She knew never to say monster in the hallway after sunset. On the sixth morning, Milo asked her directly. Did they come for you when you were little? His mother was washing a plate. The water ran over her hands. She did not turn around. Yes. The answer was so simple that he wished he had not asked. Did Grandma give you rules? Her mother gave them to her. So everyone knows. Not everyone. Some families forget. Some children grow up in bright rooms full of noise and clutter and nothing happens to them for years. Then one night, something remembers their address. Why do they want children? She turned off the water. The kitchen became very quiet. They do not want children exactly, she said. They want the moments when children are almost asleep but not willing to surrender. They feed on resistance. fussing, sneaking, whispering. One more game. One more story. One more light. A child's refusal at bedtime is a little door opening again and again. They gather around those doors. Milo thought of every time he had begged for 5 more minutes. Every time he had hidden a device under the blanket. Every time he had left the floor a battlefield and made his mother step over plastic towers to kiss him good night. Did I invite them? His mother wiped her hands on a towel. No. You are a child. Children invite nothing on purpose. But habits invite things without asking permission. Can we move? She smiled sadly. They are not in the house. Not only the house. They are in the hour. That sentence stayed with him. They are in the hour. It explained why the room felt normal at noon and hungry after 9. It explained why locks mattered less in daylight, why a toy could be a toy until night slid into it, why a window was only glass until the clock approached bedtime. The monsters did not live under beds the way animals live in burrows. They lived in broken routines, in delays, in the narrow gap between what should have been done and what a child tried to postpone. What if I follow every rule forever? Then they get bored. Do they leave? His mother looked toward the stairs. No. But boredom is one of the safest things a monster can feel. That night, Milo followed every rule. For 2 nights, nothing happened. Nothing, he learned, could be frightening too. On the first quiet night, he lay in bed listening to 9% rain and waiting for the window to call. It did not. The floor stayed clean. The closet remained closed. The phone charged. The white paper displayed his clear sentence like a small flag of surrender. He slept. On the second quiet night, he began to hope. Hope was dangerous because it made the rules seem less urgent. At 8:55, he closed the window but did not check the latch twice. At 9:40, he cleaned the floor but left one book beside the bed because he was reading it in the afternoon and wanted to continue tomorrow. At 9:58, he turned off the light and felt proud. At 10:22, the book beside the bed opened. Milo heard pages turning. He opened his eyes. The book lay on the floor within reach. It was a collection of animal facts. He had loved it because each page had bright pictures and simple explanations. Now the pages turned by themselves, slow and searching, until they found a picture of a deep-sea fish with a lantern hanging from its head. The words beneath the picture began to twitch. Anglerfish live in darkness, the book said. Then the letters rearranged. Children live in beds. Milo squeezed his eyes shut. The pages turned faster. Beds live in rooms. Rooms live in houses. Houses live in night. Night lives in us. He heard the glossy picture peel itself from the page. A wet slap hit the floor. Something flopped beside the bed. He did not look. Rule 7 had told him what to do, but closing a book on the floor required reaching down. Reaching down meant approaching the edge of the bed. The blanket covered his feet, but his arm would cross the border. The flopping thing breathed through gills. Its little lantern lit the underside of the bed in pulses. With every pulse, shadows of other things appeared beneath him, hands, knees, heads turned sideways, faces pressed flat against the slats. The fish thing whispered in a voice full of water, "Read us." Milo kept his eyes shut. "Read us and we become true." He remembered something his mother had said, "They feed on resistance." Fussing. Sneaking. Whispering. One more game. One more story. One more story. He had left the book because he wanted one more story tomorrow. The want had remained in the room like a crumb. He moved slowly, not off the bed but toward the desk side, where the broom leaned. His fingers found the handle. The fish thing flopped closer. "Children love facts," it whispered. "Here is a fact: the dark has teeth." Milo swung the broom from the bed and struck the book shut. The room snapped silent. A wet line remained on the carpet. In the morning it would be dry, and his mother would say nothing as she cut the stained patch away with scissors and carried it outside in a sealed plastic bag. But that night, Milo lay awake understanding hope differently. Hope was not believing the monsters were gone. Hope was believing he could keep closing the book. The teeth of the moon. October brought colder nights and a moon that looked too close. Rule 16 had seemed silly even after everything else. If the moon appears to have teeth, close the curtains and do not count them. Milo had read it many times and imagined a cartoon moon, round and yellow, smiling with a row of little white squares. He almost liked the image. It seemed less frightening than window mouths and ceiling inspectors. Then, on a clear Friday night, the moon opened. It was 8:48 p.m. The window was still open for air, and Milo was gathering blocks from the floor. The sky outside had darkened to blue glass. The moon hung above the maple branches, huge and pale. For a moment, he thought a cloud had crossed it. Then the cloud separated into upper and lower halves. Teeth appeared between them. Not a smile. A horizon of teeth. They were long, uneven, translucent, crowded together like icicles in a cave. Some pointed down from the top curve, others up from the bottom. Behind them was not darkness but a red depth, impossibly far away, as if the moon had always been a mouth turned sideways in the sky and people had been too polite to mention it. Milo stared. One tooth moved. He began to count. He did not mean to. Counting is something minds do when confronted with too many of anything: stairs, stars, birds on wires, teeth in the moon. He reached 7 before he remembered the rule. Close the curtains and do not count them. 7 was already too many. The moon mouth noticed. A thin beam of pale light entered the room and touched the carpet. It was not light exactly. It had weight. It pressed down on the floor, and where it landed, tiny white cracks opened in the fibers. Something on the other side of the moon breathed in. Milo ran to the window. The maple tree's branch whipped against the screen, though there was no wind. The window, still open, whispered in 3 voices, "Count the rest." He grabbed the curtains and pulled them shut. The moonlight vanished. Something struck the outside of the glass so hard the frame jumped. Milo stumbled back. The curtains bulged inward. Teeth pressed shapes through the fabric, long and sharp, one after another, as if the moon had leaned down and bitten the window from the sky. 7, whispered the window. Milo clapped his hands over his ears. 7 means we may send 7. From the corners of the room came 7 small sounds. 1. A click under the dresser. 2. A sigh inside the pillowcase. 3. A wet pop from the closet. 4. A scratch behind the wall. 5. A giggle from the desk drawer. 6. A footstep on the ceiling. 7. A child's cough under the bed. Milo stood in the center of the room. He had not cleaned yet. He had not written the sentence. The window was not closed. The moon had teeth and he had counted 7. "Mom," he shouted. The door burst open. His mother stood there with a laundry basket in one hand and a pair of iron scissors in the other. For a split second, the whole room reacted to her. The 7 sounds stopped. The curtains flattened. The closet held its breath. Milo saw on his mother's face not panic but fury, ancient and controlled. "Eyes down," she said. Milo obeyed. She crossed the room, shut the window with her elbow, and clicked the latch using the scissors handle. Something outside bit the glass. She did not flinch. She pinned the curtains shut with 2 clothespins from her pocket. Then she turned to the room. "You counted 7. Her face tightened. "Then 7 will try. What do we do?" She handed him the broom. "We clean." That was when he realized mothers could be terrifying too. They cleaned like soldiers building a wall during battle. She kicked open the laundry basket and swept clothes into it with her foot. Milo gathered toys. His mother checked corners, shelves, under the desk. Every time one of the 7 sounds began again, she answered with an action. The dresser clicked, she pulled it away from the wall and swept behind it. The pillow sighed, she stripped the pillowcase and turned the pillow over once. The closet popped, she stood before it and said, "We are closed for sleep," in a voice that made the doorknob stop trembling. The wall scratched, she lowered the music to 9% and pressed the phone speaker against the plaster until the scratching retreated. The desk drawer giggled, she opened it, removed every crumpled paper, and placed 1 clean white sheet on top. The ceiling creaked, she did not look up. "Inspection is not until 3:33, she said. "Do not be early in my house." The child's cough under the bed became a sob. That one made Milo's mother pause. "No," she said softly. Milo looked at her. "No what?" She did not answer. Instead, she knelt beside the bed without putting her face near the gap. From her pocket she took a small hand mirror and angled it under the frame. Milo saw the reflection from where he stood. Under the bed, in the mirror, was a little boy crouched with his knees to his chest. He looked like Milo, but thinner, gray-skinned, with moonlight caught between his teeth. His eyes were closed as if he were pretending to sleep. "I counted once too," his mother whispered. The mirror fogged. The gray boy opened his eyes. "You left me at 12, he said in Milo's voice. His mother turned the mirror face down. "Not tonight," she said. They finished cleaning. Milo wrote quietly sleep so clearly that the letters looked printed. His mother turned off the lights before 10 and stood outside his locked door until he fell asleep. In the morning, the curtains had 7 small holes in them, each shaped like a tooth. His mother burned them in the backyard before breakfast. The reflection that did not blink. Milo began to hate mirrors. The bathroom mirror was bad enough in daylight. It held his face correctly, but only because it was watched by toothpaste, towels, and the yellow cup where his toothbrush lived. Bedroom mirrors were worse. A mirror in a bedroom after dark is a second room pretending to be harmless. It shows your bed from the wrong side. It knows what the space behind you looks like when you are not looking. Rule 14 said, if your reflection does not blink when you blink, say good night to it and turn the mirror face down. Milo's bedroom mirror was small, framed in blue plastic, propped on his dresser. He used it to check whether his hair looked ridiculous before school. After the moon night, he avoided it after sunset. But on Monday, he forgot. It was a tired day. Fear makes children obedient, but it also makes them exhausted, and exhaustion breeds mistakes. He did his homework. He cleaned the floor. He closed the window. He charged the phone. He wrote the sentence. Everything was correct. Then, at 9:37, while changing into pajamas, he glanced at the mirror. His reflection was smiling. Milo was not. The smile was small, almost shy. It showed no teeth. That made it worse because it looked like a secret kept behind lips. Reflection Milo stood in the same pajamas, same hair, same pale face, but his head tilted slightly to the right. Milo blinked. The reflection did not. His stomach dropped through him. Good night, he said quickly. The reflection's smile widened. Milo grabbed the mirror to turn it face down. The reflection lifted its hands too, but half a second late. As he touched the frame, the glass warmed beneath his fingers. Wait, said the reflection. It spoke with his voice, but backwards in some way his ears understood before his mind did. The word entered him wrong. Good night, Milo repeated. Don't put me down, said the reflection. It is darker on that side. He hesitated. The reflection looked scared now. Not fake scared. Truly scared, eyes wide, mouth trembling. It pressed its hands against the inside of the glass. Please, it whispered. It comes when you turn me over. It waits beneath mirrors. It eats the face first. Milo's grip loosened. The reflection began to cry. Tears slid upward on its cheeks. That saved him. Real tears fall down. Whatever cried upward was not him. Milo slammed the mirror face down on the dresser. The room shook. From beneath the mirror came a furious whispering, not one voice but a crowd of Milos layered over one another. Some cried. Some begged. Some laughed. One spoke in his mother's voice. One spoke in the wet closet voice. One spoke in the assistant's calm tone. You left yourself in here, they said. Milo stepped back. The mirror rattled against the dresser. Its blue frame bent upward as if something underneath pushed with its knees. Rule 14 only said to say good night and turn it face down. It did not say what to do if the reflection argued. The white paper on the desk rustled. The line quietly sleep darkened. Milo understood. The paper faced the door, but the mirror was not the door. He picked up the paper and turned it toward the dresser. The whispering stopped. For a moment, the mirror lay still. Then, from beneath it, one voice whispered, that sentence is for sleepers. Reflections do not sleep. The mirror flipped upright. Milo screamed.